everyone, this is Julie from the Yuma Main Library, and thank you for joining us for today's virtual program, An Introduction to Paper Quilling. Paper quilling is a paper craft that uses rolled strips of paper to create three-dimensional artwork. This is a fun and easy craft that can be used to enhance a variety of other projects such as scrapbooking, card making, wall art, or jewelry making. The convenience of paper quilling is that you can complete this craft with items that you might already have at home. However, specialized quilling tools are available at any craft store. So let's begin by going over some of the materials you will need for this project. For this project, you will need strips of paper. You can cut these yourself or buy a pre-cut set at any craft store. If you have a paper shredder at home, using it to cut your strips will save you time and give you more uniformly sized strips. You will also need a piece of cardstock onto which you will glue your project. You also need glue. You can use whatever glue you prefer, but liquid glue will make it easier to glue down your strips to outline your designs. When it comes to quilling, you want to make sure that you use as little glue as possible to avoid a mess. These needle-tipped glue bottles are perfect to help minimize the amount of glue you use. To roll the paper strips, I will be using a toothpick. However, there are proper quilling tools that have a slot at the end to slip the paper strip to roll it, but a toothpick will work just as well. And finally, you will need scissors to trim your paper strips. The first step in any quilling project is to pick your design. Selecting a design or pattern depends on your skill level and how intricate you want your design to be. For today's project, I chose this cactus design because it is fairly simple and easy to make. Now that we have our design, the first step is to make the outline. We will start with the first pad of the cactus. Fold about an inch of the paper strip to form the base. Then curve the strip until it reaches the end of the other base. Fold the paper strip again and dab a little bit of glue at the ends to hold the shape in place. Hold it for a few seconds while it dries. Once it is dry enough, you can cut the extra bit of paper off. So there is your first shape. Now add some glue onto the edges of the paper strip all the way around. Once you finish with the glue, place the shape on the cardstock. Lightly press down to secure the shape onto the cardstock. For this design, you will need to make a total of 3 cactus pads. So you will repeat this process 2 more times to make 2 smaller pads to glue to the top of the first shape you made. Once you finish gluing your outline, you will need to roll your coils to fill in your outline. There are many kinds of coil shapes, but they all start with the basic closed coil, which is then manipulated into other shapes. To make a coil, fold the end of a paper strip around the toothpick, and then you'll begin wrapping the paper strip tightly around the toothpick. After you roll the bit of the strip, you can remove the toothpick and continue to roll the paper strip between your fingers until you have wrapped the entire paper strip. You can leave your coil tightly wrapped like this, or you can let it loosen to create a larger, looser coil. Glue the end of the paper strip to finish the coil. Repeat this process until you create the amount of coils you want. You can make different sized coils by using shorter strips of paper or changing how tightly or loosely you roll your coils. Like I mentioned before, you can manipulate your coils into different shapes. The design we're working on today also includes the marquise shape, like this one here. In order to get this shape, you just need to flatten the coil between your fingers. And there you have the marquise shape. We will also need to create this little teardrop shape for the fruit of the prickly pear cactus. You'll want to grab a strip of red paper and make a small coil. Once you've coiled your strip of paper, you'll squeeze one side of the coil into a point until the shape looks like a small teardrop. You want to make sure that you squeeze the coil only on one side so you don't end up with the marquise shape like the one before. For this design, you will need to create about 5 teardrop shapes. Now we'll need to make smaller cactus pads to add to the top of the cactus outline. To make this shape, begin with the larger loose coil. You'll want to fold the outside strip of the coil and then fold it again a little bit ahead until you create a flat base. And then once you've done this, slightly squeeze on the middle part of the shape to create the cactus pad shape. When you finish making all your coils, then you can move on to gluing them into place to fill in your design outline. You'll want to dab a little bit of glue to the bottom of the coil and place it where you want. Press down lightly on the coil to make sure the coil sticks securely to the cardstock. Repeat this step until you have finished filling in your design. Now that you have filled in your design, let it sit for a few minutes so it can dry. Once your artwork has dried, you can frame it, display it, or gift it to someone. And there you finish your first paper quilling project. So that was a quick introduction to paper quilling, and I hope you all enjoy working on your own projects. Thank you so much for joining the Yuma County Library for today's virtual program. We'll see you soon. If you want to continue to explore the craft of paper quilling or find more design ideas, stop by your closest library and check out some books on paper quilling. These are a few titles that are available.